Hello and welcome to a special edition of the Hoopstradamus podcast. Today it's Hami and Rain and myself, Adam Shalafu, joined by a former NBA player, Colorado Buffalo legend, Dave Harrison. Dave, how you doing, man?
Doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, of course, happy to have you. And as I mentioned, Colorado Buffs legend. Uh, this this very bed is where I had the dream where I was like, I'm going to start a podcast in the morning, And so I got my roots in Boulder too. I woke up, I called Hami. I'm like, hey, man, Hoopstradamus, we're going to make it happen. Here we are. But you started your hoops journey, at least on the college level in Boulder too. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh man, I love that school. Love that city. I mean, to this day, been like Stephen Tebow. I don't know if you go around South Town and see Tebow development everywhere,
Oh,
but
yeah.
He's been a very big influence on my life. He's helped me out multiple times. The contacts I got there, the games I played, and I still have dreams about them.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
No, I only dream about the games we lost, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I before the pandemic hit, I was doing a lot of in-person coverage on that team, writing for a website and starting to have a lot of fun with it. And they got a nice program right now, man. They really do.
Oh yeah, but when I got there, I mean, there were talks about not having a basketball program anymore and things like that. But it's definitely turned around. I mean, Tad Boyle is an amazing coach. He's produced more pros than, I mean, the funny thing is the only two pros we had were Chauncey and I. And the night of the Malice and the Palace would be the first time two Colorado players ever played against each other.
Oh my gosh. Oh, talk about an overshadowed story.
Oh yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, they should be interesting. They got a lot of good guys coming in next year. I really like Tad as a coach. He's intense. Uh, but I think McKinley Wright might be there next year in the NBA.
Oh, I hope so. I mean, he's very, very quality point guard. Even though he stole Spencer's number, but we won't talk about that.
Yeah. Well, anyway, let's get into the NBA stuff. Hami, I'm gonna pass it over to you. I know you got some questions prepared.
Yeah, my first question, and first of all, I just want to say thank you again for taking the time and stuff like that to join us. And this has been very cool so far. So your I guess the most humbling moment you had on the court. It could be anything when someone destroyed you, like someone blocked your shot, or someone dunked on you, or something like that. It could have been college and high school, middle school, anywhere.
I mean, I played every sport. I played baseball, basketball, football, played a little bit of lacrosse. I mean, I did everything I could. There's so many stories. I mean, the easiest one to say is playing against Shaquille O'Neal. I mean, it was the most humbling experience of my life. But I mean, that's easy. I would say honestly, it was back in high school. The first time I didn't play basketball until high school. I was a football player. My dad was a professional football player, played 10 years in the NFL. And that's why I love football. I love the contact. I love the physicality. I loved everything about it. And I was going against this guy. His name was Scott Wells. He ended up playing for the Green Bay Packers for a number of years. Went to the University of Tennessee. And I mean, Scott was a literal beast. And we had this drill. It's called Oklahoma, where it's offensive, defensive, and then you have to shut off your blocker and tackle the running back. I was on my back eating sweat from Scott every time, every drill, over and over again, and the coach wouldn't let it go. So I would say about 15 times he put me on my back. And then finally I got low enough and I held my ground and I got my arm and tripped up the running back. And I was like, thank God. Like with that, just walking off the field was just defeating because, I mean, technically I didn't win. The kid tripped, but luckily I got out of the drill. But there's just so many moments, if you were a competitor, you kind of love those moments because it takes you to a place where you're either going to get better or you're going to quit. And my always choice was I always chose to get better.
Love hearing that.
Yeah. So let's cut to the chase. Right, the brawl. Right?
Oh
Right. So we
yeah.
all know what happened. And we'll dive into it. We'll go do like deep dive and stuff like that. But I guess my first question about the brawl was, what was one of the first things you remember? I think you guys have Rick Carlisle, right, is coaching then the Pacers. What was one of the first things that you remember when he said when everyone went back to the locker room? I guess I go to finish off for the day, because there was still like 30 seconds of the game.
Oh man. The best thing to people think that was just a random occurrence, and there was a lot of backstory behind that. The year before, Tayshaun Prince blocks Reggie Miller. Rick was coaching in Detroit. We had a lot of teammates. Like I said, Chauncey was on the other team. There was just so much personal connection. That spark that happened. I mean, I would say we lost one game before that. We didn't even practice for those other teams. We focused on that Pistons game. That's all we cared about. We were going to go out there and we wanted to crush them. Like that we wanted to crush them.
NBA champs.
I mean, we did. I mean, we crushed them. And I mean, one of the first. I mean, the thing is, it was so much chaos. The coaches were in one corner. I mean, the first thing that happened was Rick and Jermaine O'Neal almost got in a fight. It was just so emotionally charged at that time. But I mean, afterwards, the first thing I remember is landing in Indiana. And I would say there are 4,000 or 5,000 people sitting at the parking lot, honking their horns and cheering for us. And I was like, wow, I love this place.
That's wild. That's like some weird, that's like an alternate world, going from Detroit, with all that stuff. And people, I remember some article and I was reading that you were interviewed someone. I think you were talking about that one guy earlier, Bob Kravitz. The article with him talking about how all the Pistons fans and stuff like that, there's rumors of them maybe being armed or whatever on the streets and on the bus ride back.
Oh yeah, we had to. So we get out finally, and we're loading onto the bus, and literally they tell us to lay on the ground, and you heard the pop, 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 pops. I mean, I don't know if they were shooting at us. I don't know if they were setting off firecrackers. I don't know. My face was on the ground.
Oh my God.
Just trying to drive to the airport. I mean, it was a war zone. I mean, one thing no one talks about is that year in the playoffs, we had a bomb threat, very credible bomb threat. And it got to the point where we're back up in Detroit. Someone calls in the bomb threat and we're about to not play. And like I said, it was the common theme was, do you know what Stern's going to do to us if we don't play? Every time I see how Silver has approached this league and given players the right to say something about anything, I love it. I think the league's in such a better place now that he's in charge.
Also, yeah, the whole I guess that whole night is it's like a complete it pretty much changed everything how we look at the NBA now. It kind of I think around that time or the year after that, or I think it was 2 years after that, the whole dress code shenanigans.
I was the same year. Yeah,
yeah,
that was the same
year.
year.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean that was Stern's legacy, was to take us from street to Main Street to Wall Street essentially, and he wanted that image and everything. And I mean, I went to a private Christian school. I wore khakis and a collared shirt and a belt every day to school. Well, when I went to Colorado, I'd wear the same thing, and people would be like, "Do you have a presentation today? Why are you dressed up?" I'm like, "That's all I have. This is what I wear." That, the whole dress code thing to me, that wasn't really much of an issue. I think more of the issue was, it was just a lot of the players felt that it was just, attacking their culture.
Let me ask you a question about the fight as well, because I really can only imagine. I've been at a bar where, you know, I've had my friends get in a fight or whatever, but I've been to boxing matches, you know, where there's two people supposed to fight, but I have never, and I think most people have never witnessed something like that where you are in front of thousands of people, some shit starts to go down, and next thing you know, it's complete mayhem. What was that like from your perspective? Like, where were you? Were you on the bench? Like, were you like, what did you witness and how did you feel?
So at that point, when everything we were up, and I had I think about 6 points and like 6 rebounds. And I looked up. There's like 3 minutes on the clock, and I'm like, man, I'm going to get back in there. I'm going to get a double double. I'm going against Ben Wallace. He's the defensive player of the year. Like I was super excited about that. And literally, I stand up to check in, and my back's turned at this point. And that's when the first foul, when Ron fouled Ben Wallace, happened. And then, you know, with all the skirmishes, everyone's pushing back off the court. Everyone stay off the court, so I'm going to suspend it. And honestly, when Ron laid down on the bleachers, I was like, this is amazing. You had Ben Wallace attack Ron Artest. Ron fouled him. Everybody, you can foul. It's the NBA. You get fouled. But you had Ben attack Ron. We've crushed them. We've beat them in the ground. We've beaten them. I'm like, this is amazing. And then I still remember seeing this cup, like if you throw a cup, the way they made us describe it, we couldn't say beer, but it was 100% beer. But the liquid, the liquid will fly out, and the cup will like dissipate and fly off. You know,
Yeah.
This thing had like a centrifugal force going that kept everything in there. And the second it hit Ron's face, it was like it's like getting hit in the face with a brick. It just blew, exploded everywhere. And I remember everyone kind of froze. And then you see Ron look in the crowd, and I looked up there, and you see the dude that Ron ended up attacking, who didn't throw it, but was standing next to the guy, start there pointing and like jeering at Ron. I mean, Ron goes after him. He thinks he's the one that threw the cup. The dude who threw it's next to him. Ron gets that dude. But what got me was when Steven ran the crowd, because in my mind, I'm like, Ron's done. He's like just suspended. But Steven, we can still save him. So I ran in the crowd, and I grabbed Steven Jackson. I still remember I grabbed him, and he was trying to like punch at me. And I'm like, Steven, it's me. Please don't hit me. Please don't hit me. It's me. And then I picked him off the ground. And then that kind of cooled down. And then I looked back on the court. And that's when a bunch of the fans just ran on the court and got after Ron again. And I really wish I would have been able to been like tracked athletically. I think I jumped from like the first row, like over the scorer's table on the ground. And I ran over to try to help Ron again. And then eventually it was just me, Ron, and Chuck Person standing at center court. And we're all standing there. And there's one way out. They call it the vomitorium. It's Latin. It's not to throw up. It's where all the people spew out, like you vomit, essentially. But we're walking out towards the vomitorium. And I'm lagging behind because everybody's throwing everything at Ron. I'm like, if I keep on walking this way, I'm gonna get hit with crap. So I'm lagging behind. But Chuck, Chuck literally tries to block the stuff from hitting Ron, and just trying to pull him out of there. And then we get to the vomitorium, and I'm trying to walk through, and this fan throws a drink, some more liquid, directly in Jermaine O'Neal's face. And every security guard jumps to stop Jermaine. And there's just this gap that just opens up between me and this guy. And he looks at me, and I look at him, and I'm like, oh no, in my head. And I say, don't do it. And he started reaching in his pockets. And I was just like, no, don't do that. And then he kept on reaching. So I hit him. And then someone threw a chair, and that hit me in the head. That really hurt. Yeah, that really hurt. And then after that, dragged back to the locker room, and there's just more chaos. It was just the best way to describe it is chaos. That's literally what happened.
I wonder how calm it was after in the locker room. Just quiet.
Oh, Ron was trying to talk. He was he was trying to be apologetic,
Yeah.
but I mean, people just kind of really weren't trying to hear anything right then, and that's kind of, I mean, honestly, so he asked if he thinks that we're going to get fined, and I think Steven goes, "Fuck a fine, Ron. You better be lucky we got a job." And then Anthony Johnson looks at Ron and goes, "Ron, I think we're going to get suspended. Like let's just get down. We're going to get suspended." And Ron starts going like, "Oh no, I don't want to be suspended. Not again. I don't want to be suspended." And that's when Jermaine lost it. He just lost it, and he just had enough. I saw it on his face. He snapped. He was like, "Ah, like this guy really seriously?" Like he just snapped, and that's when him and Rick got into it. Like the coaches were trying to like break it up, and like Jermaine was like, if we're fighting, either fight with us or get the hell out of our way. But he called them motherfuckers because you motherfuckers, you fight with us or get out of our way. And Rick stands up and goes, "Don't call me a motherfucker." Like, and then it was funny as shit. Mike Brown gets in the middle of the two and goes, "Look, Jermaine, I got hit in my lip right here." He put his lip out and like pointed to it. And everybody started laughing. Like it was just like a moment of brevity for a second. And like I said, it calmed back down, and then it got real again, and it got scary. And then, like I said, when we landed, all those fans were there. That was amazing.
One of the things about Ron Artest, so he was actually my favorite player on the Chicago Bulls. He was in that draft class with Elton Brand. And so I was a little kid, and it was the first Bulls jersey I picked out for myself. I remember being at the sports store, and it was Elton Brand or Ron Artest. Everyone had the Elton Brand jersey. I'm like, no, I like Ron Artest. That guy plays some defense. That guy is a dog. Like, he's my favorite player. And everyone thinks of the Brawl. A lot of people think about the time, he like elbowed James Harden, but I feel like it's almost, people forget that guy was the best perimeter defender in the world.
He was damn good. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he was a generational talent. I mean, not just on defense; his offensive skills were amazing. He was such a good player. I can't say my favorite teammate only because literally we played like 10 games together, but we get to play summer league together in Minnesota, and that was some of the best basketball I've played in the NBA was that summer league. And Ron was a big part of that. He kept me focused, kept me motivated, kept me in the gym. I mean, he was a good teammate in regards of that. But yeah, Ron was a special guy, very special talent. He's still alive? No, I guess he's not. He's meta world peace now. So I guess we can talk about Ron Artest in the past tense.
Yeah, the reincarnation.
And honestly, he did reinvent himself. And I was really happy to see that. I was really happy when I saw him do that interview after he won the championship. I mean, I was happy for him. I think I was happiest for Rick when he won it in Dallas because we were supposed to win it that year in Indy. And I was happy that Rick got his championship as well.
Yeah, that's honestly one of the most satisfying championship runs. Like everyone always talks about that championship run, and yeah, I mean, it was amazing. I mean, Rick Carlisle all those years. I mean, with all those years, coaching obviously around, and all those years coaching with Dallas too. And even like Jason Kidd being there for a couple of years too. Like just really like a perfect storm season.
Hold on, sorry, I got a call coming
in. Oh yeah, no problem. Obviously, in the middle of that season, I mean, like you obviously got so much more playing time after that. And so what was that like? I mean, like, because the team is like so like half like it's like you were mostly missing Ron Artest and Steven Jackson. I mean, they're
it was just everyone. I mean, Reggie got suspended, but Reggie was out with a broken hand. We were injured all down the road. I mean, we were so many injuries. So the next night, we literally had 6 players that could physically play, but you have to legally dress 8. So the next night we had 2 players that wouldn't have even dressed, but they could dress just so we could make the quota. And that was honestly my favorite game I've ever played in my life. And unfortunately we ended up losing. But for me, I was the last pick of the first round. I got to go against Dwight Howard, who was the first pick of the first round. And I think I had about 19 points. I don't remember my lines that night. I just remember playing like 47 minutes. And I've never played that amount of basketball in my life. And we went to overtime. You know, I mean, it was such a great game. Another great fan moment after that game. I'm crushed that we lost. I thought we were going to win. And we get a standing ovation coming off the court. And everybody out there played to their fullest. And that just showed you the power of that team. You know, we had our the end of the bench playing, and I think we even went out and we won about 4 out of the next 6 games with just those 6 players.
You obviously you just mentioned now that you were like the last pick of the first round. How much pressure is that coming into that? Because that's like you're coming into a team that just lost in the conference finals to like a team that, I mean, like that has obviously championship aspirations. Obviously, it didn't work out with the whole what we were just talking about in the last 15 minutes. But like that team was certainly good enough to win it all. But like, how much pressure is that just joining into that kind of team? Because I think about that way too with when it comes to like Jimmy Butler, who was also came into the league to a team that had championship aspirations, but then he had to become, you know, obviously he took years and years for him to become, you know, the player he is now. But just being that in the first day of training camp, that kind of stuff.
Well, for me, I was supposed to go way higher. That's what I was told. I don't want to say the team, but they picked a kid named Robert Swift instead of me. And in my workout in Indy, I even said, I was like, man, if I'm on the draft board at this point, I'm probably about to kill myself. You know, I was like, there's no way that I should even be going this late. And Larry loved that, started laughing. Even when the pick came up, he called me. He goes, "Are you still alive?" And I was like, "Yes, I'm still alive. I would love to play for your organization, please, sir." And you know, he was a really good influence on me as well. We had a very similar playing style. We loved to play very physical, and if other people like to get physical, we didn't shy away from being physical as well. But yeah, going into that team, I was excited because I felt that I'd be able to showcase myself more than the people that were picked early. You know, I'd get some burn. They'd get we get similar burn, same amount of playing time, but my team's going to go deep in the playoffs. My team's going to go to the championship. My team's going to go to the finals, and I'm going to be able to be on that stage. And that was my mentality coming in.
I found your stat line
For that game.
Yeah. It was a good game. Yeah, you played 43 minutes, 8 of 15 from the field, 8 boards, 2 steals, 3 blocks, 19 points.
Look at that.
Let's see how Dwight do against you. Oh, you shut down Dwight Howard, bro. You shut down Dwight Howard.
Amazing.
Yeah. Dwight only had 5 points. He only got 3 shots up against you. I mean, you probably weren't the only one guarding him, but it sounds like you got some major minutes. But yeah, he had a game of 5 and 11. So you went out there and owned Dwight for the night. That's not bad at all.
Oh, that was my goal. Every guy that got drafted above me, I'm going to go at him as hard as I possibly could. Kind of pissed I missed that many shots. Oh well.
Hey man, you don't even want to hear the stories about, you know, me and Hami in Winfield, Illinois, playing pickup ball. You want to hear about missed shots? You're looking at the poster child. You know, I just got to drive and dish. Hami's the shooter.
Oh, there you
go. Who was one player that you always looked forward to sharing the court with? You know, in terms of on your team or against you or anything.
Yao Ming. I really enjoyed playing against him. He would sit there and just destroy you, and then he would like tell you how you could have done better.
He took the Tim Duncan approach.
Not like not in a demeaning way. You know, oh, Paul Gasol was like that as well. Like, but not in a demeaning way. Like he'd tell me like when you face me up, go straight away. Stop jab stepping and giving me time to recover and things like that. Like, I mean, it was really cool because I mean he's a Hall of Famer. And just getting any type of positive feedback from guys like that was very, very, very like good for me. Like I thought. I mean, honestly, I played basketball to. I love blocking shots. I love dunking it. I love the physical part of it, but the finesse part, I was kind of just getting my hands around, and I wasn't really comfortable with that side of my game. And you know, when the other players like that could see that, yeah, you could do it, it really was really assuring for me.
That's really cool because Yao Ming is. I mean, that doesn't surprise me that he'd be that type of guy.
Yeah, when I played in China, we used to whoop his Shanghai Sharks all the time. He'd pull me after the game, and like he literally would be proud. He'd be pissed that they lost, but he'd be proud of me. You know, I mean, it was like I said, he's a really good man.
So, but back to that 05 season. There's obviously this very cool moment that happened. Reggie Miller, the standing ovation thing. That whole Larry Brown calling timeout, and you know, it was a very cool moment. You know, did you have any cool interactions with Reggie, like in practice or anything?
My name to Reggie was Fat Fucking Rookie. So,
oh wow,
yeah, we didn't get along too well just because of the way the league was. But when the best thing is when everyone was suspended and he realized that I have to do it, he was one of my biggest supporters. He was one of my biggest supporters. He'd always like come to my side because he knows I just set up a rocket screen. But I didn't realize if I get Reggie open, my guy's gonna run out to the 3-point line and try to guard Reggie too, and I'm just wide open under the rim. You know, like just things like that. And he was such a smart player. Like he would set so many picks because you set a screen, you get open. But yeah, before I actually played, I was just Fat Fucking Rookie to him. But after the fact, I still remember he's about to retire. He has another year left, and I go to him. I go, "Could you come back next year?" I go, "I promise, I'll be better. I'll be good. I'm so sorry I pissed you off." And he was just done at that point. I think the Brawl took a lot out of him. It really did.
So playing in China, did you ever feel like you had that? Because I feel like word gets around all the time in China or something like that. That you know, oh, this guy played in the NBA. There's always NBA players going in there. Do you feel like you had a target on your back?
I was one of the first ones.
Oh, really?
When I went
cool.
to China, yeah, I was one of the first NBA players to do it. And then after me, there was this mass exodus rush there. And honestly, the reason why it's European basketball isn't basketball. It's soccer mixed. I mean, there's no physical. There's nothing. The lane lines look ugly. But the CBA was NBA basketball. They had a lot of big players. It was a physical game. And I felt that I could go there, play a few years, and make it back to the NBA. That was my goal. That didn't happen that way. But yeah, I was one of the first ones. But yeah, Target. I mean, you had to perform. Ming Batir was there, and he was on one of the better teams. And just going against him, everyone's like, "Oh, you should kill Ming." And I'm like, "Dude, Ming's like stronger than me. Like, I'm pretty strong. He's pretty good, and he did play in the NBA as well. So you know, it's not going to be like just a cakewalk. It's going to be, you know, it's going to be kind of hard." But I ended up,
I think that's kind of a misconception because people always assume that they might be soft, but it's definitely not soft, especially like in like China.
Oh no. Okay, like I said, the Euro League is very soft, but the Chinese basketball, they play very physical. And as a center, I don't control the ball enough to control my destiny on offense, you know. So that was kind of the biggest mitigating issue, was just literally just getting the ball. But luckily, I actually played with another guy from Nashville, Tennessee, a guy named Dante Jones. He played in the NBA, not the one that went to Duke. He went to Mississippi State, but he played in the NBA, and he was very helpful in the getting me the ball aspect.
Uh, I have a couple questions here, just like couple of my, just at least on my end, my last questions here. So favorite cities to play in China, doesn't have to be home or away, it could be anywhere.
I'll say it in Chinese. Wo ai Beijing. I love Beijing. That is the best city in that country, hands down. Maybe one of the best ones in the world. It's a beautiful place.
Awesome.
Hami, let's go to Beijing.
I
Yeah,
love it there.
well, I'd love to go to China sometime. I'd love to go to China. So also last one. It doesn't need to be in order, but it could be overseas, NBA, whatever. Top 5 favorite stadiums to play in.
Oh. So here locally in high school, I loved playing Memorial at Vanderbilt Stadium. I love that place. In college, I loved playing at Allen Fieldhouse only because of the energy and just we never won there, but we were close a couple times, and it was just a war every time. NBA, I would say Madison Square Garden. I love the lighting there. It was just something weird. I like the lighting. Most places you look up and there's a big bright light in your eyes when you shoot, but not in Madison Square Garden. It was a nice place there, or the old Oakland Stadium. I mean, the old Warrior Stadium was very similar. Oracle, yeah. And then in China, best place to play was my second team, was Guangdong. They had pretty much professional, like NBA type facilities. But yeah, no, it's weird. You know, I'm not from Indiana. I live in Indiana. Everyone's like Hoosiers, and they're like, oh, the rim's 10 feet. Well, yeah, the rim could be 10 feet, but you know, the floor, the color of the court, the color of the seats, the lighting, that stuff that stuff can affect your shot. It really can.
Yeah.
Another thing we talked about before the call that I definitely want to get to is we got about 7-10 minutes left here. Is the marijuana policy and how that's changed in the NBA. And you had a very interesting story. It sounds like with a meeting with David Stern.
It wasn't a meeting. Believe me, he'd never take a meeting from me.
Okay.
But I wrote him an open letter based. So I got put in the drug program on some BS. It was a technicality. I didn't even have it in my system. I was just around it, and other people got in trouble, and I was there, and I got put in the drug program. And it really, really pissed me off. And I said this, I looked through the list of banned substances. I can take HGH, which is cheating, and you guys won't care. But if I have marijuana in my system, you're gonna blackball me essentially. And I literally took a childish stance about it. And I protested it by using the substance, very blatantly and very openly. And it was, the drug commissioner hated me. And this is how I know I was set up. I was literally suspended the same day that Barry Bonds was. It was like every league had to throw out somebody to get like under the goal. I remember I'm in Phoenix. And Donnie Walsh comes to me and he goes, "What the fuck have you been doing?" It's like, oh shit. And I told him, I go, "Donnie, I've been smoking weed. This is all I've done. I don't know what else they think they said," because he thought that I got suspended for steroids because of when I got suspended.
Oh.
And then he literally said, "Just weed?" I was like, "Yeah." And I was just like, "Yeah." And so I'm literally sitting at the airport. And I'm at the end of the bar. I'm trying to hide, and I have to report back to Indy and Sports Center. Dun. Barry Bonds suspended. David Harrison and all this other stuff. And these guys are like, "What an idiot! That guy's such an idiot." And I look down the bar, and like one of his little group like sees like, "Oh my god, that guy's sitting right there." And he's trying to shush the dude. And I'm just like staring down the bar, and I'm like, I'm thinking about just like punching this guy in the back of his head. But I go down there and I buy him a shot. I was like, "Here you go, from an idiot to you." And I actually hopped on a plane and went to Los Angeles instead of Indiana and got in more trouble, which wasn't smart. But yeah, no, the drug policy today. I mean, I have a consulting. I consult for so many hemp and marijuana companies. People are almost billionaires off of it. And what was it, 2008, and I got suspended. So, I mean, not even 12 years ago, I mean, it was an offense. I mean, it cost me my career. I mean, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. All the fighting didn't help either. But at the same time, in my open letter, I said, I was like, the prohibition of marijuana has never been about health, hasn't been based on science. It was actually initially based for Nixon for a way to get at the hippies and everybody else that was protesting against him. That was the 75. And when you look at the history of almost every drug law in this country, it's based on racism. Listen to the Senate floor debate, which is recorded about when they were trying to legalize cocaine back in like 1919 and 1918. They said cocaine, when black people do it, it turns them into like super criminals and all this other stuff. I mean, the fear campaign. And then you look at what they did to people. You were caught with just a little bit of marijuana. People were getting 20, 30 years in prison. I mean, it's disgusting to me that our system does that to human beings, and especially the youth. And that's just how I felt like that my entire time, especially coming from Boulder. Everyone's like, well, marijuana is legal here now. Every time people go there, I'm like, I always tell them marijuana was never illegal in Boulder. I mean, it's a brave new world. I'm very, very happy that the NBA has taken more relaxed stance on that substance. I mean, there are substances people should not take. Cocaine is not good for basketball players. So what it does to your heart. Heroin's horrible for absolutely anybody. But if you're going to allow someone to drink alcohol, which is one of the only substances, if you quit cold turkey, can kill you, and nicotine, which is more addictive than heroin, I don't understand how marijuana. I do understand how marijuana got there. I just don't understand why people can't open their eyes and see how that whole story developed and how it was playing out. And as a player, I felt that my silence was advocating that injustice. I mean, I almost want to call it a genocide. I mean, that is ruined people's lives. It's taken people from being able to be productive members of societies and turn them into criminals. Everybody said, what was the worst thing that ever happened to you because of marijuana? I said, nothing happened to me bad because of marijuana. Everything happened to me bad because of the law. There's like, I've never gotten high and try to kill anybody, or what I mean? Like, there's been nothing like that. It's just the law and how it's been put in practice. And I mean, it's at the end of the day, we're a country of laws, and when the law's been written that you have to follow, I think Steve Jobs said it in his commencement speech in 2004 to Stanford. It was like, challenge and question everything. And I did that. And when I questioned and I challenged that, I just found more hypocrisy, more everything. And it made me angry. Now I really don't care. I wish I would have just shut my mouth and played basketball. But at the time, I was very passionate. I was younger. I didn't have any kids. I was hoping for a change in society. And like I said, I think we're getting there.
Yeah, we're definitely heading in the right direction. And I do think that it makes more sense right now. I couldn't agree more with what you're saying about, you can take HGH and not be tested, and that marijuana is somehow a banned substance, something that comes naturally from the earth that has medicinal properties and stress relief properties. And these guys in the NBA, it's show business. It's the insane pressure of playing every night in front of thousands of people, having your mistake. I was in local news for a long time, and I remember the feeling of making a mistake on television, and that's intense.
Oh, now it's social media. I mean, like the kid Edwards that dunked on that player just ended him. I mean, in that dunk would have been seen probably 20 times, 30 times max. Everyone's trying to catch it on Sports Center because it used to run all day. Now that thing was probably played a billion times. Like that one moment. The guy who Vince Carter jumped over. He ended up having like a huge drinking problem because of that.
Yeah. I mean, that can, it's humiliating, man. Sometimes it's okay to relax. Sometimes it's okay to unwind. And there are much bigger fish to fry, I would say. Unfortunately, that's all the time we got today, Dave. Thank you so much for coming on. And we would absolutely love to have you back on sometime. Do you like any sports trivia?
I'll be better at like U.S. history or Roman history or Chinese history trivia.
Okay.
We'll usually cater to whoever the contestants' interests are. So
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah, maybe we get you and our mutual friend Josh on against each other.
Oh man.
Different Josh,
God.
Hami, different Josh.
Okay,
Josh
gotcha,
is
gotcha. Okay, cool.
strong.
Okay.
Josh
Okay.
Strongwater is he knows his sports. That's for sure.
That's what he said. But does he know
yeah.
his Chinese history? Maybe we'll get
Oh
you,
no,
the Chinese
no,
history.
no.
Okay.
No. Josh, when we were playing over there, I'd be like, "Hey, Josh, come over." He's like, "No. I'm not going to get on that plane ride. No, it's too long of a plane ride. No."
Well, yeah, maybe we'll see what we can do. We'll be in touch, man, and we'd love to have you back on sometime. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank y'all for having me on. It's fun.
Awesome. Well, and thank you everyone for listening to the Hoopstradamus podcast. Shout out to Evan Buttress, our graphic designer. You can check him out on the Instagram at the Wax Cowboy if you're looking to get some work done. And as always, give us a like on Apple Podcasts. That helps us get the ball rolling. And thank you for listening. We love you. Peace, love, and hoops, guys. We'll see you next time.